Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. As you can tell by the title, I'm gonna be reading Divergent by Veronica Roth. I personally really like when people read books to me, so I was like, why not make a video of it? I'll probably only read one chapter, but if you guys like it, I might continue, make it a series. But before I do get started, I wanted to thank everyone for subscribing. I think I reached 12 subscribers in a day, which I think is pretty good and pretty cool. So thank you guys so much. Before I dive in, I'm gonna put on some lip gloss because my lips are always chapped. This is the Yummy lip gloss by, who is it by? By CoverGirl. It's one of my favorites. Don't mind my new microphone cover. It's literally so yummy. It smells really good too. Look at that. Another thing, I've probably reread Divergent at least 20 times. I reread it every single year, or I reread the series every single year. It's just been one of my favorites. I am a hardcore dystopian lover, so like the basics like Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner, stuff like that. Pretty basic, but it's my favorite genre, and those are my favorite books. So I removed the cover because it kept falling off, so you're gonna have to be okay with it looking like this. Chapter 1. There is one mirror in my house. It is behind a sliding panel in the hallway upstairs. Our faction allows me to stand in front of it on the second day of every third month, the day my mother cuts my hair. I sit on the stool, and my mother stands behind me with the scissors trimming. The strands fall on the floor in a dull, blonde ring. When she finishes, she pulls my hair away from my face and twists it into a knot. I note how calm she looks and how focused she is. She is well practiced in the art of losing herself. I can't say the same myself. I sneak a look at my reflection when she isn't paying attention. Not for the sake of vanity, but out of curiosity. A lot can happen to a person's appearance in 3 months. In my reflection, I see a narrow face, wide, round eyes, and a long, thin nose. I still look like a little girl, though sometime in the last few months I turned 16. The other factions celebrate birthdays, but we don't. It would be self-indulgent. There, she says when she pins the knot in place. Her eyes match mine. It is too late to look away, but instead of scolding me, she smiles at her reflection. I frown a little. Why doesn't she reprimand me for staring at myself? So today's the day, she says. Yes, I reply. Are you nervous? I stare into my own eyes for a moment. Today is the day of the aptitude test that will show me which of the 5 factions I belong in. And tomorrow, at the choosing ceremony, I will decide on a faction. I will decide the rest of my life. I will decide to stay with my family or abandon them. No, I say. The tests don't have to change our choices. Right, she smiles. Let's go eat breakfast. Thank you for cutting my hair. She kisses my cheek and slides the panel over the mirror. I think my mother could be beautiful in a different world. Her body is thin beneath the gray robe. She has high cheekbones and long eyelashes, and when she lets her hair down at night, it hangs in waves over her shoulders. But she must hide that beauty in abnegation. We walk together to the kitchen. On these mornings, when my brother makes breakfast and my father's hand skims my hair as he reads the newspaper, and my mother hums as she clears the table, it is on these mornings that I feel the guiltiest for wanting to leave them. The bus stinks of exhaust. Every time it hits a patch of uneven pavement, it jolts me from side to side. Even though I'm gripping the seat to keep myself still, my brother, Caleb, stands in the aisle, holding a railing above his head to keep himself steady. We don't look alike. standard uniform. Their faction values honesty and sees the truth as black and white, so that is what they wear. The gaps between the buildings narrow, and the roads are smoother as we near the heart of the city. The building that was once called the Sears Tower, we call it the Hub, emerges from the fog, a black pillar in the skyline. The bus passes under the elevated tracks. I've never been on a train, though they never stop running and there are tracks everywhere. Only the Dauntless rides them. 5 years ago, volunteer construction workers from Abnegation repaved some of the roads. They started in the middle of the city and worked their way outward until they ran out of materials. The roads where I live are still cracked and patchy, and it's not safe to drive on them. We don't have a car anyway. Caleb's expression is placid as the bus sways and jolts on the road. The gray rope falls from his arm as he catches a pull for balance. I can tell by the constant shift of his eyes that he's watching the people around us, striving to see only them and to forget himself. Candor values honesty, but our faction, Abnegation, values selflessness. The bus stops in front of the school and I get up, scooting past the Candor man. I grab Caleb's arm as I stumble over the man's shoes. My slacks are too long. I've never been that graceful. The upper levels buildings is the oldest of the three schools in the city. The lower levels, mid-levels, and upper levels, like all the other buildings around it, it is made of glass and steel. In front of it is a large metal sculpture that the Dauntless climb after school, daring each other to go higher and higher. Last year, I watched one of them fall and break her leg. I was the only one who ran to get the nurse. Aptitude test today, I say. Caleb is not quite a year older than I am, so we are in the same year at school. He nods as we pass through the front doors. My muscles tighten the second we walk in. The atmosphere feels hungry, like every 16-year-old is trying to devour as much as he can get out of the last day. It is likely that we will not walk these halls again after the choosing ceremony. Once we choose, our new factions will be responsible for finishing our education. Our classes are cut in half today, so we will attend all of them before the aptitude test, which takes place after lunch. My heart rate is already elevated. You aren't at all worried about what they'll tell you? I ask Caleb. We pause at the split in the hallway where he will go one way, towards advanced math, and I will go the other towards faction history. He raises an eyebrow at me. Are you? I could tell him I've been worried for weeks about what the aptitude test will tell me. Abnegation, Candor, Erudite, Amity, or Dauntless. Instead, I smile and say, not really. He smiles back. Well, have a good day. I walk toward faction history, chewing on my lower lip. He never answered my question. The hallways are cramped, though the light coming throughout the windows create the illusion of space. They are one of the only places where the factions mix at our age. Today, the crowd has a new kind of energy, a last day mania. A girl with long, curly hair shouts, "Hey," next to my ear, waving at a distant friend. A jacket sleeve smacks me on the cheek. Then an erudite boy in a blue sweater shoves me. I lose my balance and fall hard on the ground. Out of my way, stiff, he snaps and continues down the hallway. My cheeks warm. I get up and dust myself off. A few people stop when I fell, but none of them offered to help me. Their eyes follow me to the edge of the hallway. This sort of thing has been happening to others in my faction for months now. The erudite have been releasing antagonistic reports about abnegation, and it has begun to affect the way we relate at school. The gray clothes, the plain hairstyle, and the unassuming demeanor of my faction are supposed to make it easier for me to forget myself, and easier for everyone else to forget me too. But now, they make me a target. I pause by the window in the E-wing and wait for the Dauntless to arrive. I do this every morning. At exactly 7:25, the Dauntless prove their bravery by jumping from the moving train. My father calls the Dauntless Hellions. They are pierced, tattooed, and black-clothed. Their primary purpose is to guard the fence that surrounds our city. From when? I don't know. They should perplex me. I should wonder what courage, which is the virtue they most value, has smoke rang through your nostril. Instead, my eyes cling to them wherever they go. The train whistle blares, the sound resonating in my chest. The light fixed to the front of the train clicks on and off as the train hurtles past the school, squealing the iron rails. And as the last few cars pass, a mass of exodus of young men and women in dark clothing hurl themselves from the moving cars, some dropping and rolling, others stumbling a few steps before regaining their balance. One of the boys wrapped his arms around a girl's shoulder, laughing. Watching them is a foolish practice. I turn away from the window and press through the crowd to the faction history class